It's unusual on Newsroom Africa channel 405, coming to you in every single corner of the continent of Africa, here from Linden in Johannesburg. We're still joined in studio by Phumzile Chifunyise. She's an Enterprise Development Manager at the South African Breweries and AB InBev Africa. We'll also be speaking shortly to AGRIPRENEURSHIP SA, which is an organization that aims to touch the lives of thousands of young farmers and entrepreneurs. And I'll be joined by Thando Matutu to speak briefly, of course, about the work that they do, and more importantly, how programs of this kind can not only open up the marketplace for young black agribusinesses, but also assist us to specialize and continue to diversify our agricultural sector. Now, the big question, Phumzile, many people might be asking themselves here is that it seems like there are many programs. It seems like supply development, and then an owner, and there's quite a bit happening here. How do people access this? And is there, I guess, one contact point and one window into this particular opportunity?
Absolutely, there is a lot happening, because how can you not, with South Africa's economy being as it is, right? But it's quite easy. We've got an umbrella term called the SAB Entrepreneurship Program. Okay. So if you were to tap into Facebook, any of the social media platforms, and you type in SAB Entrepreneurship Program, then you can see what we're up to. But we also got our website if you want to have a holistic view of what our programs do. Sure.
Let me bring Thando in here, and Thando joins us on the line, and he is with the AGRIPRENEUR, which is an entity there that is aimed at building capability and capacity, and also doing some research on this agribusiness sector. And Thando, you might be familiar with this particular program, and I guess the first question for me would be, what role do programs like this and other similar ones play? One, in facilitating access to market and scale for some of these agribusinesses, and also, I guess, encouraging much greater specialization and much greater improvements in efficiency and productivity.
Yeah, well, they do help in terms of infrastructure, in terms of funding. They help most of these guys because they're starting out. And also, most importantly, they help with their offtake. Some guys, they farm and they're looking for markets and offtake agreements. So usually it's a formalized way, and they have guarantee where that their produce can be, they can offtake the produce,
Yeah. And where do you see the gaps, Thando? I mean, one would think that, there's no perfect program, and I think all of us are trying to strive to find those perfect solutions. Where do you see some of the design challenges when it comes to programs like this?
Well, in our view, it's in terms of information, When you speak about programs like this, majority of people think just primary agriculture. But actually, there's a whole list of value chain. Some people, they don't need assistance in terms of offtake or in terms of the input, but they need in terms of logistics, in terms of pack houses, in terms of trucks, also in terms of marketing their product. So what we do as Agripreneur, we check where is it that you're lacking, and then that's where we help along the value chain. Whether it be in input, accessing in terms of looking at your soil, in terms of whether you need to improve your fertilizer and things like that, but not only primary, but we also help in terms of logistics, in terms of pack houses, in terms of also putting in a value chain in terms of our trucks, where our wholesale partners offtake your produce, and even help them stay fresh and longer. So there's various needs that people need.
Okay. Thando, let's pause there for a second. Phumzile, I mean, just from what Thando is saying, one would think that, a program like this is why it has so many multiple facets, because you can't just have one uniform solution, because there's multiple challenges and varied challenges that people would have. I mean, it makes the point there that you might have somebody who already has an offtake agreement, but their biggest challenge is that they don't have, post the farm gate, any way, I guess, to keep maybe their perishable product still fresh. They don't have the cold storage, they don't have the logistical linkages. How do you, I guess, create the perfect circle here? How do you close the circle? Maybe I should put it like that.
Sure. So going into any other program, you would have a roadmap or a model in which you would say that we want to do primarily three things. Firstly, skills development, and that will come through the form of either your bootcamp training, your master classes, whatever it is from an educational perspective that will take somebody, a business owner, from what they currently know to the next level. And sometimes that might not necessarily be everything, right? And we try by all means to take the business owner out of their environment, in which we try to build up those qualities, either from a leadership perspective or technological or operational perspective, that's there. But also on the job or situational training as well, to orientate them around the things that we're trying to teach them. Secondly, there would be a finance perspective. That will come in the form of either funds or infrastructure support is what we're trying to do in our program. And thirdly, market access, offtake agreements, and people that will be able to buy your product. So what they say in agriculture is that the plant or the product is bought by the time it's actually grown into the ground. We try to do that. But what often changes, or some of the nuances that happen when you are running a program, or at least when you start, is that the first step is that you would go into a business diagnostic process, whereby you try and see the health of the business itself. So that assessment process will tell you exactly what this business needs, where their strengths lie, what they do require right now, what they don't need, so that you can focus on it as well. And from there, you can then tailor and custom make a program that's fit for purpose for that particular individual.
Thando, when you hear that, and when we talk about, I guess, creating, with all of the sort of support measures that are in place, creating a tailor-fit and a tailor-made solution for some of the businesses that we have, one would think that, you know, the big question then is around the scale and how many people who need this the most actually know about it. What has your experience been in terms of how some of these programs are communicated to where they are needed the most?
Look, my take is there's no perfect tailor-made program, you know?
Sure.
In terms of agriculture, I mean, there's different needs and different things the different issues to tackle. But, you know, there's things like, okay, with the primary produce, and with the primary produce, there's an expectation where all the worldwide expecting South Africa to be number one in terms of providing food for export, particularly opening markets for the Middle East and China. We just saw now, they were celebrating last week that the first citrus export was successful in China, you know. But among the many issues there, it was just that the tagging was incorrect, not that the produce, all these years that failed because the tagging was incorrect. So in terms of training the guys as well, you can train them in terms of the gap standards, how to reach the gap standards, and also as well how to tag their exports and know about the export rules and things like that. So it's basic things. Like if you look in the Eastern Cape as well with the Magua tea there, that project is massive. There's a lot of opportunity there in terms of processing. They can plant and they can sow and they can produce the tea. But in terms of bagging the tea and marketing and putting into the market, that's where entrepreneurs now need to come in. We're no longer talking about agriculture, but we're talking about entrepreneurs who can package the tea and even market it, you know.
Yeah, and Phumzile, and I guess that's the big thing there, that this has to be as holistic a set of support measures. I mean, I was shocked a few years ago to hear that there's things called phytosanitary standards, and that, you know, if you had an orange coming from South Africa that just had a small lump, which is, I mean, as these things are natural, right? That it wouldn't go into certain markets because of global phytosanitary standards. And that's just one. There's also issues around labeling. There's also issues around packaging and how you market your product in that particular country so that you continue to access some of those markets. Are you starting to provide that kind of support, and if so, how?
Absolutely. So what's exciting to us is that, so currently we're going through an application process, or rather an application phase in the entire process, where for the next 3 weeks, we'll be calling out to South Africa, looking for young people to apply to the program. Once we've identified who those participants are, we'll be taking them through a 15-month process. That's got different activities, and the first activity is that we are going to be basing them at a highly operational hydroponic farm in the west of Johannesburg, wherein which they will be able to get to experience the optimal level in which we would like to see them operating in a couple of months' time after we've taken them through the entire process. But also just to take them through the entire process, such as all the way from starting your own seedlings, which some farmers currently right now are buying. So how do you actually make that in-house for you to be able to save more and concentrate on other activities from a cash injection perspective?
Now, Phumzile, unfortunately, we have run out of time. And I guess the big question many of our viewers might be asking themselves is, how do they get hold of this opportunity? Where do they go to get hold of you guys?
Applications are live, as I mentioned, and they can go to sabentrepreneurship.co.za or SAB Entrepreneur on any of the social media platforms. We are quite active on Facebook quite often, LinkedIn as well, which is where you can get to interact with us. I use my own network as well to communicate about our activities. So you can catch us on SAP Entrepreneurship or SAP Entrepreneur on our social media platforms.
Thando, where do people get hold of Agripreneur and I guess the wealth of knowledge and advice that you guys have for agribusinesses?
Yeah, they can look at our website at www.agripreneursa.co.za. Then all our contact details are there.
Okay, awesome stuff. Thank you so much there. Thando Matutu, business manager at Agripreneur, speaking to us, and also joined in studio by Phumzile Chifunyise, who is the enterprise development manager for Africa, for the Africa zone at SAB and ABN Bev. Thank you so much, Siswan, for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's where we're going to have to leave it this afternoon at the start of this new week here on Business Unusual. We'll be back with you again tomorrow for Stock Market Tuesday. Do stay with us and stay tuned to Newsroom Africa, channel 405.